such and such a ticket office, I have a man here who doesn't know who he is. But see, that's the same way with the Lord. Fellas, don't you know who I am? Simply arise from his bed of sleep, stand on the deck of that little boat, and speak to the wind, be quiet, total calm. Of this same Jesus of Nazareth. Now I have to emphasize that because, beloved, if he were anything less than that, he could have not paid my sin debt nor yours. But he did. A gentleman had an anthill in his backyard, and he was always obsessed with watching those. Why does the whole human race hang up on idolatry? Why are the humans so obsessed with idolatry? And they have been. Because, you see, they want to worship something that they can touch. They want to worship something on their mantle that they can look at. That they can identify with. But to take something by faith, it's so hard. And so, yes, all up through the Old Testament, they had to be satisfied with the theophanies when God appeared in human form and then disappeared. And from then on, they had to take it by faith. All right, so now beginning with our New Testament economy then, with his first advent, now we have God in the flesh, and we no longer are looking at something that's invisible, that is impossible to imagine. He was here in the flesh. He said, handle me, touch me, even after his resurrection. He was for real, beloved. And he never laid aside 1 ounce of his deity. Never. All right. Now our time is just about gone. Let's look at 1 or 2 more. Luke chapter 22. Luke 22. Now this is, of course, at the time of the crucifixion. Primarily from his human side. John will depict him from the deity side. And so here we have things in Luke and Matthew and Mark that you won't find in John, because he does not look at his humanity. All right, Luke 22, coming at verse 39. And he came out and went as he was wont to do to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. When he was at the place, he said to them, pray. He was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me, and nevertheless not my will but thine. And of course he was speaking of the that were now right in front of him. All right, he appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him, and being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. See, there's his humanity. And when he rose up from prayer and was come to his disciples, he found them sleeping for sorrow, and he said unto them, Why sleep ye? Rise and pray, lest you enter into temptation. Well, anyway, you come all the way down through these next series of verses, and it's a constant exposure of his humanity, see? Verse 54, they took him, and he was completely submissive. And they led him and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. And when they had kindled a fire in the midst, and you know the account, and